Hello YouTube, I'm back again with another video. This might be possibly a rant video, but it's literally to give my thoughts on the new Yu-Gi-Oh! Ban list that will be effective on February 7th, 2022. And let us proceed with the list and see what got hit and what didn't. So obviously Protoss would get banned because the reason why it's banned, I'll show you why, because of how effective and can possibly what the type of deck that's utilized in. So if you can see with its effect, although it may not seem like much considering its attack and defense, its effect is very annoying simply because it's too easy to search from a certain archetype called Sword Soul. For new players that are trying to get into Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm trying to take it slow for you guys, and people definitely want this card, want this card banned. I highly doubt it was a prediction. People just say that to up their ego and shit. Like, it's because it gets on my nerves when people predict, because we don't know how Konami decides to do the ban list, since they're the ones that are responsible. And to say it's a prediction, I disagree. It's just the fact that the amount of people who are complaining about this card gave Konami reason to ban this card. And let's proceed with the other forbidden cards. We have Eva, which definitely deserved to get banned, simply because it was like you could search too many fairy types. It had a really easy effect. Like, you mostly utilizing Drytron, although I never played against Drytron. I never used that deck, but it was also one of those degenerate cards that had to go. Also because maybe I'll show you the card itself, like what it's capable of, as proof. All right. Nope, not that Eva. I'm at the Yuga card. As you can look at the text. If it's sent to the graveyard, banish up 2 other life fairy type monsters, whatever, from your field, hand to graveyard. I had the same number with different names. Although it's different names, it's still effective, and it's at the same time it's just too much advantage. Alright, let's continue down. And then some more Bird of Sovereignty. If I'm pronouncing that correctly, I don't know, but I don't really care, to be honest. This card definitely deserved to get banned, although I am playing Drytron. It's the fact that you can summon one of the spheres. I think it's one of the wind monsters that pretty much locks you out in special summoning monsters besides wind monsters. Fuck, the barrier statue. My mistake. It was a barrier statue. Give me a moment. Fuck. I don't even know. Yeah, storm winds. Neither player can special summon monsters except wind monsters. So you literally, because it was so easy to summon this card, and then it was really that the Sarmoric pretty much relies on summoning wind monsters, so you could tell it's a wind attribute monster. Pretty much, if it had the ability to special summon any wind monsters from your deck to the field or hand, as long as, depending whose levels are equal or less to the number of cards in the spell trap card zone. So if your opponent wasn't playing, if neither player was playing back row, this card was just too easy to summon. Plus, on top of that, in order for the player to get rid of the opponent's monsters, they had to get rid of this card first. Because when you go straight into your battle phase, a lot of times that you pretty much have to attack the Stormwinds because it prevents you from doing anything. And I understand it stops combo decks, but at the same time, it really benefits the opponent by way too much. And let's proceed for any other banned cards. Imperial Order, people were expecting this. The card is just too oppressive. It's a trap that gives you basically too many negates, because the reason behind Imperial Order is that for players who had like a bunch of Omni negates, it was part of the Omni negate combo. So if you had monsters that can negate card effects, like possibly just all other card effects or monsters or spells, you had Imperial Order. So if your opponent had any spells that could get rid of the monster on the field, to get your opponent's monsters on the field, you can counter this Imperial Order, and you couldn't. The problem is that you could not do anything. You were stuck. Sure, the opponent's stuck too, but if they already have a board, and then they have Imperial Order on top of that, they felt that the game was gonna go their way, they had a chance of the opportunity to kill their opponent a lot more faster. So that's why I got banned, because it was just that you needed spells in order to get rid of certain monsters, because they were important like outs to getting rid of degenerate monsters like who pretty much prevent you from playing the game, especially in Yu-Gi-Oh with the amount of combos going on. And let's go straight to the limited list. Destrudo, not really much to explain, but the fact that you really pay half your life points. I think this is more the fact that Krishan is not too much of a problem. The Hockey Fibrex combo, you don't really see it that often. It is still strong, you have outs to it, and then the cost of paying half your life points, although it goes back to the bottom of your deck, that is still a hefty price to pay if you want to summon out a monster to your field. And this comes out as a surprise. Fairy Tale Snow. For some people who are not familiar with Snow, I'm not talking about Snow White, it happens to be a degenerate spell caster monster, where like although it required a lot of cards to special summon this monster, you had to banish at least 8 cards, whether it's your hand, field, or graveyard special summon. But on top of it, it was a quick effect. And then when it was normal special summon, you can target one monster your opponent controls, and it goes face down. I think the reason why this card is even limited, although people seem worried right now, is it's not going to do too much because it's a one of now. I think the reason people were simply because in case there are decks that can stack their graveyard, and that's the big sword, because the whole purpose of the whole reason behind playing Fairy Tale Snow is if you stack your graveyard, you pretty much get an easy way of summoning Snow, and then on top of that, you can disrupt your opponent's plays. And let's continue. Astrogaf Sorcerer at 1, kind of necessary. It's not really doing, Pendulum's not doing much, and it's gotten a lot of nerfs throughout the ban list, so might as well put it to 1. And then Luna Light Tiger. I'm not a Luna Light player, but I think the combo is not as bad. Especially I think it was because it was a lot worse when before Master Duel, before when Link Summoning was a thing. I think this was one of those cards that just helped you expand during Link summon combos. Although on top of that, you get to Pendulum Summon, so it's like you get too many like special summons, too many easy special summons, and that like with Link summonings that like it kept helping you out. So you just keep special summoning monsters, Luna Light monsters from your grave or whatever. Like give me a moment to see if I'm correct or not. Maybe I'll have a better explanation once you actually see the card text of Luna Light Tiger. So yeah, I was right. Basically, although it negates this fact, that's what it's meant for, and it's just constantly you just overdo it. You have, and then this is to basically the reason why I assume Lyra Leska Marcel Strongland is at 1 to restrict its like search power, consistency, and it was making Char Brigade too much of a problem. So they want to like take away some of its consistency, and then just be able to limit its like overpowered like combos, so that the deck can be able to at least the other decks have a chance that can compete with the Tri Brigade. And let's go down. Monster Gate was not too much of a big deal. This is I kind of disagree with Pod Desires going to. I kind of understand why people, and maybe in the beginning, yeah, people were expecting this card would be limited, but now all of a sudden it's limited. But because I'm assuming because a lot of players tend to play a lot of like cards, especially this is very like this is like one of those cards that's very useful in 60 card decks, and I do love playing 60 card decks. Although I would not suggest making all your decks 60 cards, but it's one of those cards that makes 60 card decks more viable, too good. Just being able to draw 2 cards, because it wouldn't really matter if you banish 10 cards, because if anything, it's helping your deck become more, even if you're randomly banishing them cards that you don't know that is face down. But they just seem like a random hit regardless, because you used to have Ash Blossom, you like I'm assuming it's because it's too much consistency, and you still keep drawing afterwards. That could be the reason why I got limited. Although people, I don't know anybody who's thinking they should go to 1, but maybe they're trying to see how it'll do, and then maybe so people could often see it less often, and they're not too sure how much of a problem card the Pod Desires is. But at this point, we're gonna find out once the ban list starts. And this should, I'm assuming these are the limited cards. Semi-limit's not so necessary, but the only semi-limit I could understand, the one thing I do understand with semi-limit, it should only apply to malicious, honestly. Because considering how, although you should either go to 3 or 1, but having a 3 I understand is way too easy. It'd be way too good. But usually with semi-limits, it kind of points because if there are some line, if they possibly, if a lot of these cards are semi, they're either possibly going to go to 1 or they're going to go 3 or be banned. And you'll notice you have Hero Lives, that has, and then Fusion Destiny, Nadir Servant, Salamander Circle, Scapegoat. So, and I'm sure once the game progresses, once things start to slow down a bit, once duels start happening, once people play test these cards, I assume, like later down the line in the future, when there's a next upcoming ban list, this card will go to 1. No, this card will actually go to the healers, will go to 3. Fusion Destiny will go to 1. Nadir Servant will go to 1. Salmon Great Circle will possibly go to 3, as well as Scapegoat. Malicious could stay semi-limited. I understand why people disagree semi-limits because it's not really like nerve-wracking. It's not really it's not like pointless. But there are some cards that definitely belong there. Like Militia is a prime example because it's the fact that it doesn't have hard ones per turn. You can just keep special summoning. If you have a second, if it was unlimited, you'd be able to get 2 free special summons that are not even hard ones per turn. And it is one of those very important cards for if you're playing heroes or whatever. That just helps you expand your link summoning, your fusion plays, all that. And it's a reminder why the semi-limit at the same time should exist to keep cards like Destiny Hero, Militia Check, or other cards that are similar. And then we're gonna go to the cards that are unlimited. We can finally play these cards: Danger Nessie, Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, Perform Bell Skullcrow Bad Joker, Emergency Teleport, Raigeki, Skildred. The one that I'm really surprised the most are Raigeki Skildred because I can assume Raigeki's not doing much. But then but with Skildred 3 is insane because the card is really gonna affect the meta. It's one of those cards that's definitely very important, especially if you're playing card decks like Draco, Eldritch, or Stun decks. It's one of those cards that you have to play at least 2 or 3 of. Emergency Teleport. I'm assuming, although it's not once per turn, it's not doing much, but at least Cosmo gets the extra buff it needs, as well as Virtual World, because it's not meta relevant as they used to be back then. We have Perform by Skullcrow Bad Joker, which is at 3, which is understandable because pendulums have guys with the amount of hits and the crucial like criticism it's got in the past, and the amount of like backlash, and the amount of the amount of L's they've been taking, the amount of struggles throughout the past with pendulums because they just weren't able to compete with, especially with now Master Rule in effect, because it's affected by link summoning. So that if you were to special from the extract, you can only special summon to the extra from the extract to the extra monster zone or to a main monster zone as long as a link monster points to that zone. So this is definitely there's really no problem at all. I highly suggest that it deserves to be a 3, and you max out on this card because it helps. Not only does it help perform pals, it helps Odd Eyes, helps Pendulum Magicians, and it's a must-have. So that at least Pendulum get the boost that they need, and then we'll figure out how they're gonna compete in the current meta. Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, for we all know the card has been errata, so it's not going to be as like degenerate. The card is going to still be playable, and and to be honest, you don't really need to max on this card because it's a hard one to put. But for Red Eyes players, they're most likely going to try to max out on 3. But it's the fact that it's an easy summon. You can special summon multiple dragons, so they limit the amount of special summons so that you can only special summon 1 dragon, specifically with Red Eyes Dark Dragon's effect, specifically once per turn, so that you don't flood the field with too many dragons and possibly create more degenerate combos. Danger Nessie, I was kind of surprised this was at 3. I was thinking it was going to be semi-limited, or it was gonna eventually go back to 1 or 3. I was a bit worried, but then the card has gone cheaper in the time. But the reason being because Dangers like Tsuchinoko, you have cards like Danger Jackalope that are limited that haven't gone sunlight. I assume those are the more degenerate cards. Those are the cards that just easily get you access to free special summons regardless. If you don't pick the random card in your hand, that your if your opponent does not pick the random card in their hand besides that other danger. So even when if one of the dangers like Tsuchinoko and Jackalope were to get discarded regardless, you still get the free summon. But with Nessie is that you get to choose whatever dangers in your deck besides Nessie. Although it's more consistency. It's just like I'm assuming Konami realizes that the card itself does not compare to Dangers Tsuchinoko or Jackalope, and that although you are fetching dangers from your deck, though the thing is not like you have access to 3 Tsuchinoko or 3 Jackalope, and just enable you to gain even more summons and possibly more draw power. So they limited the amount of draw power. They limited the amount of special summons, thanks to hitting the corresponding danger monsters that happen to be Tsuchinoko and Jackalope. Like if I were to show you the fact, I'll show you now what they're capable of. Danger Jackalope. As you can see, this card allows you to special summon a danger. Besides, it's straight from your deck and defense position, and then Tsuchinoko. I'm not gonna take too long, guys. The video is basically over soon. Once you discard Tsuchinoko, pretty much special summon free, even if you don't get the draw. And those are my thoughts on the ban list. Whether I'm right or wrong, this is just to give you some like hints and clues what could happen later in the upcoming Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels. Eventually, when they're and the possible new changes that will happen. Considering this is still new, the list, people have to try out the cards before they judge, and then see if any of these cards are still a problem. If the ban list, obviously the ban list will definitely, or will do some new changes. They'll definitely eventually rotate cards, thanks to the new upcoming list. As for this year on February 7th, 2022, and people were obviously expecting new opinions, new thoughts, criticism, like their duels and matches, and how the current meta is like giving certain attention to certain archetypes, and maybe from down there, then obviously there will be new changes, and then hopefully this will only affect like the more degenerate decks out there, and then possibly the old road decks or um, tier 2, tier 3, or like more unique new archetypes can get some upcoming support, new support that could possibly make a difference and compete with degenerate cards. And again, I will be finished with this video, and this is just simply to show you the list who are interested and then who decide to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And you might as well for you to interact with people, other players, get some experience besides being at home. And again, I hope you guys enjoy my content. Be sure to check your notifications, comment, like, subscribe. Thank you.